he's done be recognized, nationally, and that's something you can't hope for. And it's a really tough award to win. He's up against, four offensive guys that all come from, pedigree schools and all that stuff. So, but I think, the whole story of Phil is just the kind of coach he's always been. He was a great coach here 25 years ago. He's easily the best secondary coach, and I say that with all due respect to some really good people and good coaches, but I've never been with a secondary coach that coached to the degree of, detail that he does, and has just had a lot of success stories. Then what he's done with the defense ever since he took it over, it's been an evolution, but done a wonderful job, and I'm sure he just got done, giving credit to the staff too. So it's a team effort. Everything we do is. So just appreciate his efforts. And one thing I've said a couple of times now, one thing about Phil, I think it really makes him unique in this day and age. Two jobs in his entire career, basically two paychecks from two different places, and that's pretty unusual. It's pretty unusual, and he could have made a lot of moves, including a coordinator job, whatever that was back in 08, 09, whatever it was, I guess before that. So I just appreciate the fact that he's been part of our program, loyal to the program. Not that anybody owes us anything, but the fact that he's chosen to stay here and be part of this is it's really significant. It's a big part of the reason I'm still standing here. So happy for him. And then the four players, it's kind of interesting. They've all got a little different careers. Think about Torrey's been a 4-year guy. Certainly Cooper, 2 years now, full-time. Jay, really first time as a middle linebacker for us, played a lot last year, but first time as a primary starter for us. And then, Sebastian, basically, it was right at the end of the season where he started to turn the corner last year. So they have all had different paths, but the accomplishment that they, level of, that they played at this year, certainly noteworthy. And I think, the commonality, all of them have great attitudes. They all have really strong work ethics, work ethic, and then the way they've improved. And every one of them, it's a story of improvement and career of improvement. And that's really kind of the design of our program. That's how we're, hoping to do it. And, we're not looking for a quick fix or hoping to patch too many holes, but, I'd rather have guys that grow up in the program that really, just take the thing forward and just take that opportunity to keep growing. So just really happy for all four of those guys too, and I'm sure you enjoyed visiting with all five of them today.
Kirk, Luke Lachey, is he going to be available to the...
I don't think so. His rehab's going really well. He might be close, but it doesn't make any sense right now, so no, I don't think so.
Kirk, when it comes to guys that could potentially come back, Cooper or Jay, all those guys, is it pretty easy for you to balance how badly you want them to come back versus them kind of achieving their dream and going to that next level? Or how do you kind of approach that?
Yeah, it really, there's a couple of factors. Ultimately, it's their choice. It's like recruiting. We always tell prospects, don't come here unless you really want to come here. Because, it's not good for anybody if somebody's, 80% committed to something. So, but I think it's all about them making a good choice, what's best for them, just like a recruit. And to do that, you got to have all the factual information, not hearsay, what your uncle says, or this guy, that guy. So, and we try to provide that the best we can. We'll go out and get more information if they need it. But if their heart's not in coming back, and Riley Moss is a great example, he came back and really made it work for him. And he made it work for us, but he made it work for him. And that's how it works. It's a mutually beneficial thing. If a guy comes back with the right attitude and just goes to work and keeps getting better, which most players do, most good players I've been around do, at least through their 20s. And then, but if a guy's not sure, then it's probably a good sign he maybe shouldn't come back, because he'll probably be looking over the fence next year during the season. That doesn't do anybody any good. And, but I think our role really is if a guy's looking to make just a really bad decision, you just try to alert them to that. But that doesn't always mean you can stop it either. So, whatever. But no, we just try to give them the information, and then B, the support that they need, and let them figure it out with their family. Let them figure out what's best for them.
I had a chance recently to talk to Jason Baker. I know that him and Corey have a nice little relationship. Is that kind of thing something that you foster among a lot of your guys, or is that something special that maybe you set up just between Jason and Torrey, or do a lot of that where guys kind of mentor their predecessor?
It's a benefit of being here, 34 years now. You guys saw Lon walking off. Lon played here in the 80s. But there's I think probably a unique thing. That's one of the There's some downsides to being somewhere a long time too, but the upside I think is that you just have don't want to call it a network, but there's a lot of guys that really care about this program and the people in the program, and always looking to try to help out any way they can. And in Jason's case, punters, kickers, it's a little different. It's like guys in the bullpen, it's a little different world they live in, different psychology to the way they perform. And Jason's had real life experience in that, and long real life experience. And he same thing. I was going to talk about improvement. His best year was clearly his senior year here, and just performed at a high level. Had a really nice NFL career, ups and downs, couple teams, all that kind of stuff, which is not uncommon. But yeah, all the things that he's been through, he can share that better than any one of us can, because none of us were professional punters or punters for that matter. So, but that's a nice thing about, you think about guys that stay connected to this program, and it's really a great thing. Yeah, that's a fun part about it.
What stage is
the stage of your offensive coordinator right now? I mean, are you still in fact finding? Are you narrowing the scope? I mean, what
yeah, I think we opened the search officially last week, into last week. So it's out there. It's got to be posted, I think, for 2 weeks. I'm not sure. Well, I should know this by now, but anyway, it's a. By the time we're legally allowed to really do something, that'll coincide with my schedule. And really, my first and foremost thoughts have been on this team, and they will remain that way through New Year's. We have an opportunity right now. I think we'd be one of 5 teams to win more than 10 games here in the history of the program. That's pretty significant. So, for me not to be focused on that first and foremost would really be negligent of my duties. And then, we've had a couple balls in the air recruiting our own guys, actually recruiting and being out of the office and doing some stuff. And then, trying to map out a plan for this month to make sure we're doing the right things. So, I'm still flying by the seat of my pants, but I've made all 3 phone calls. I'll give you that. A little tidbit, 3 phone calls so far. Hopefully get one more in this week, and then, we'll really turn our attention to it when we get back here, because, you got to have some face-to-face meetings and those kinds of things. But I feel really, based on what I know right as I stand here right now, I feel total confidence that we'll have a really good person here. And I think there's some strong interest from people that would make a lot of sense that really fit, and I think will fit what we need. And so it's going to work out just fine, unless the bottom falls out. That could always happen. But I'll promise you too, there's going to be a new market of people out there in January.
What's your relationship?
February.
What's your relationship with Paul Christ? Respect level?
I've always had tremendous respect for Paul. I think it's publicly stated, and he did an outstanding job at Wisconsin. Ironically, he really did a great job, and that's. Since we got here 25 years ago, that's a team we've been chasing. At that time, they were the champs, and we weren't. We're obviously not. So that's the program that we've really aspired to try to, compete with. And, the good news is the last 5 years, we've got more wins than they do, and I'm happy about that. Not that we can't do better, but, I've always had great respect for Paul. He's a really good person. Really good coach.
When you mentioned the coming back, does that mean you're expecting to have that decision after the bowl game?
Yeah, there won't be a decision before the bowl. I can pretty much assure you that. I don't know if there legally can be a decision by then. So I'll double check that. Believe me, I'm not going to make that mistake. But we'll figure it out and we'll get it done sometime in January for sure.
How about Coach Filden and someone that you've been around for so long, and how important and what a fit that would be?
Well, I got great respect for Joe, too. He's a tremendous coach here. We caught a lot of crap for hiring him out of Harvard. I guess, would have been good if it was a junior high quiz, but not for football. So, but he did an excellent job here. He's an excellent coach with Green Bay. I think they set records when he was a coordinator there. Had a cup of coffee as an NFL head coach, which is how that works typically. And, I got great respect for him. Great person, great football coach, and no question about that.
Brian's got to think about his future too. Is his plan to coach in the bowl game right now?
I think he's intending on it, and we'll know certainty next week. But he's got to worry about himself right now too, and that's probably first and foremost on his mind. I'm not sure how he did coach through the last 5 weeks, 5 games, but I give him a lot of credit for that and a really deep amount of appreciation. And I think he does it out of loyalty. First and foremost, the players. That's why all of us do things. And he is a former player. He loves his program, so I think he'll do all he can to help the program. But he also has to, look out for himself too right now. And tell you this, I mean, if he gets a job tomorrow, I don't expect him to be here. If he is, I may have to visit with him about that.
When you look at the offensive coordinator, whoever it may be, will they have to marry their scheme to what you like to do foundationally, or how much leeway would you give somebody when they come in?
Yeah, the parallel I'd give you is when we hired Norm, it's probably the single best decision I've made in my career, going with Norm. And we had 3 outstanding candidates. One of them's a major college head coach right now, so obviously a pretty good coach for a long time. I mean, he's done it for a long time. But the deciding factor was just, who he was, his personality. I was pretty convinced, he'd been through some things in his personal life. I was pretty convinced it was going to be hard to rock his boat. And I knew there was going to be some boat rocking, going into that 99 year. So, and he was also on top of it, an excellent coordinator, excellent for our staff, just total fit. And it's not a lot different 25 years from now. I mean, later, it's our program's a little stronger than it was, obviously. But, you're looking, in my opinion, you're looking for the same kind of thing. And so the analogy I give you is like, I wasn't hung up on a 3-man front, 4-man front, not locked into that or fixated on that. But to play defense, you got to play blocks no matter what front you're in. You got to run to the football in a smart way. You got to be able to tackle. Yeah, you can't give up big plays. Those kinds of things, like those are not negotiable. That's just how you got to do it if you're going to play defense. But it was totally up to him to design, the ABCs, all that stuff. And I feel the same way about this hire. It's the same thing. But anybody comes in here has to have an appreciation. We have won a few games. I know sometimes we all forget about that. We've won a few games here. I probably wouldn't be standing here after 25 years if that weren't the case. And, complimentary football is the best way to win here, in my opinion. And I've got 34 years here. It was no different in the 80s. You have to play complimentary football. You've got to respect the ball. Ball security is critical. We got away with it in 09 a little bit, but there's certain things that are paramount, and I'm really not worried about points per game. Passing yardage per game. All the stat stuff. Points per game is interesting. It's important, but I got another one. I'll hold that in my pocket until January for you. But what is important is wins per game, and if you want to evaluate a quarter, in my opinion, check the wins per game column, because I can think of a guy that entered the conference recently that came with widely acclaimed, offensive stats and all that. And that's usually how those guys get to become well known, because of their, whatever they're doing, throwing it, running it, wishbone. But then you look a little deeper. So what's this guy's wins per game? And there's usually a correlation. People that just throw the ball around. It makes it tougher to win. It makes it tougher to be on good on defense. I think Phil would tell you that. So there is a team concept here that is really important to me. It's the only way we can win, in my opinion. And come right back to it. I lost my train of thought. Damn. It still gets down to wins per game. Oh, I know the other one. There's a school on the West Coast right now that's going to recommit to defense. You gave up 42 to Tulane last year in a bowl game. So, at a place where, Ronnie Ott played. So I just find it, now they're going to think about defense. To me, that was the first thing we thought about 25 years ago. That ain't going to change. That just ain't going to change. So the coordinator coming in is going to have to understand, this is who we are. It's worked pretty well. We're looking to improve, always looking to improve. But, we're not going to become a run and shoot. Mouse Davis isn't coming. No. So
it comes down to
or June Jones.
So it comes down to doing what you guys do better, as opposed to making all these huge changes that some fans seem to want.
Yeah, well, I think the objective still is to win.
Yes.
Okay, now we had a little exception to that, okay? But the objective has always been to win football games, first and foremost. That's 25 years ago, it was important to me. When I came here as an assistant, that was important. Certainly important to Coach Fry. And so you do what's best to win. And every week's a different situation. Every game's a different situation. Certainly every team presents different. We had 5 guys get the Next Man Up awards at our banquet last week. We had 1 on defense, 5 on offense. So now what do you do? How do you fix it? How do you work around that? We still found a way to win 10 games. So, I would argue our staff did an unbelievable job. Our assistants, not me. The assistants did an unbelievable job this past year. I would say the same thing about our players, because they do the work. They're the ones playing. And that's why you don't hear our defensive guys pitch, because they know what's going on. They know what is real, what isn't real, and it's genuine. When Jack Campbell stands in front of you and says, "Hey, that's all bull crap," like, we're together. There's a reason why that is.
One of your former assistants got a head coaching job this
Yeah,
weekend.
that's awesome.
Do-
Really happy for Tim. Yeah.
Connecting that to you, do you feel like you are good at hiring assistant coaches? And what, I mean, you alluded to some of it, but
Yeah.
what are the things that really that you focus on?
First answer is yes. I do think we've had pretty good success there. Yeah, not everyone's worked out perfectly, but again, we wouldn't be here after 25 years if that weren't the case. Phil's a great example. You look for guys that are team players, first and foremost, good teachers, good mentors. It's not pro football. It's very different. Pro football, some of the criteria is very different, but our first job is to be mentors, to show our guys how to act, how to do things. And handling bad situations is a big part of it. And you got to be a good teacher. You got to be a football guy too. I mean, that's but what we do is not, it's not nuclear science. Like, this is not it's not all that complex. We try to make it complex, but it really isn't. And the basics are still the basics. A lot of intricacies in there, but you got to get people that are going to convey those things well to the players. They got to be able to teach them football. They also have to teach them a lot of other stuff too, and be good team players. We can't expect our team to be a team if our guys are selfish, and we got guys jockeying for position, all that stuff. I've seen that act before. It doesn't work so good.
All right.